So Xbox has a ton of first party games in the works. And obviously, when the Activision Blizzard acquisition deal closes, they're going to have even more. They're going to be able to spread out the releases of their first party games and still have 3 to 4 games easily releasing every single year, barring delays and anything crazy happening to really hurt the development cycle of these games. And one of those games that we've seen the announcement of, we haven't seen anything about it since, but a lot of people are looking forward to how they're going to expand off of the second game, and that is State of Decay 3. But now it is looking like we are going to be waiting a while before we ever will be getting our hands on the latest version of this game. Now, again, this is a rumor. Take this with a grain of salt. But this comes via ArtStation, an ArtStation account from an Undead Labs, the employee Undead Labs developer, the lighting lead and tech artist, Nora Shramek, for State of Decay 3. And in the ArtStation account, they state that it is coming out in 2027, which would be 6 years after the official announcement that State of Decay 3 was coming out. Now, we don't know if this is just a generous release window that they have there, or if this is just a placeholder. Maybe they don't know the actual full release date of this game, but as of right now, based off of that account, we may have to wait until 2027 to get our hands on the upcoming State of Decay 3. Now, I like the series. I like number 2. I played a decent amount of it. I'm not that disappointed if we have to wait a little bit longer for State of Decay 3, just again because of the sheer amount of games that Xbox does have coming out. And I'm very excited to see what they're going to be able to do with State of Decay 3. I'm expecting a lot from this game compared to, again, State of Decay 2, because it's now fully under Xbox, a lot more funding, a lot more resources, a lot more technology that they're going to be able to put into this game. And I think that they can make this into an absolutely incredible zombie survival game. State of Decay 2, I thought, was a great game. It did start off pretty poorly when they did release it, and then they continuously added updates and improved on the game, and it got to a point where it is a ton of fun. It did so well, it surpassed like 10 million players in 2021. Then they made that announcement, and I'm sure it's more than that at this point. So State of Decay 2 did very well. It's thriving and people are still playing that game. So waiting a little bit longer for State of Decay 3 is fine. I was thinking maybe we would hear something about it this year at the Xbox showcase, but if it really is releasing in 2027, closer to the end of the generation, then I don't think we're going to be hearing about this for a couple of years now, maybe not even until the 2026 showcase, a year before it gets released. But again, we don't know if this is actually 100% true, if this is going to be the case. However, right now, based off of that ArtStation account, this is the speculation as to where State of Decay 3 is and when it will be getting released. It also says here that the State of Decay 3 is happening. That much we know. The only problem is that we don't know exactly when Undead Labs will be ready to show more of the threequel, let alone release it. To make matters worse, we recently heard a rumor that the next title in the community management zombie apocalypse simulator might be released right around the same time as the PlayStation 6 hits the market, which is at a much, much later date. And that's another interesting thing that we would see. 2027, we saw with the leaks from Xbox that they are planning on 2028 to be the next generation, the next Xbox console, the new upgraded one with a lot more power and all of that stuff that they would be assumingly put into a next-gen console, unless they are really going to be coming out with the cloud hybrid style of consoles, which then you would ask yourself how much power are going to be inside them. But I mean, all of that is all speculation. A lot of things are going to change, but would they release this just before the launch of the new console and then provide like that upgraded version for whatever comes next in the Xbox generation? So I'm looking forward to this game, but it will be a long time, and I don't really expect to hear or see anything about it this upcoming year and even next year. Again, if this rumor here, if we can take what is being said on this ArtStation account with any validity. Now let's jump over here. Let's talk about another first-party Xbox game, and that is Starfield. And as we know, Starfield is extremely successful. They had announced that they reached over 10 million players. It's looking like it's going to be up there as one of the best games released in 2023. A lot of people are talking about the Steam reviews and how it actually fell below Fallout 76. And one of the major reasons why I think the Steam reviews are lower on Steam or lower than Fallout 76 is just because of the sheer fact that a lot of people are disappointed in the performance. A lot of people are citing performance issues on PC. I don't know how fixed those are yet because I haven't playing this on Xbox, but I mean, pretty much everywhere else, people are loving this RPG and really looking at it as one of the best games to release in 2023. And one of the things with Starfield and with Bethesda games, especially with, if you think about Skyrim, they are made for us to be able to play for years and years and years, especially with all the mods that are going to be coming out and the stuff that people are going to be creating. And Todd Howard talked about this. He talked about how he intentionally made this game to be played for a long time. He was speaking in a Game Maker's Notebook interview with Insomniac Games CEO Ted Price. So that's interesting. As we know, Insomniac, a first party PlayStation studio, and he discussed the scale of modern games and exploring his intentions for the lifespan of Starfield. And here's what Todd Howard says. He says, this is a game that's intentionally made to be played for a long time. One of the things we've learned from our previous games like Skyrim, like Fallout, is that people want to play them for a very long time. How do we build it such that it is allowing that in a way that feels natural? And if people have played the game and finished the main quest, you can see that. Obviously, no spoilers there as to how it ends, but that's kind of what he's talking about. Once you get through the main quest, you'll really get a grasp as to how they're trying to make this game playable for a long time. And he's obviously referring to the New Game Plus system. He goes on and talks about developers and pushing themselves when technology evolves, because I think there is a discussion, at least I've seen some people talk about it, that they're comparing Starfield's the creation engine and looking at something like Cyberpunk and thinking that going forward they're going to need to upgrade their engine and give something a little bit more on the modern side in terms of the stuff that they're going to be able to create graphically, all that stuff. I think Starfield does look great, but it is obviously not the best looking game out there. There are other games that are huge that look better than Starfield. And Todd Howard says this: I think it starts with the developers. It has to, right? I think it starts with technology. You're seeing new hardware. You want to use it in new ways. You're looking at the game demos going. We could do this. We could present it in this way, the scale of games. I think I'd have to go back and look how big were things before. The one thing I have noticed is that because more games are played for a long time, they're live games, and the ability to update them over time creates games that people are playing right now that have been around for a long time, on years of updates, and that creates an expectation. And I mean, that's essentially what games are today, especially because of how they release as well. I think that has a huge effect on it, with the fact that developers know now that they can release a broken game and people are still going to buy it, and then they can come out and just say, hey, don't worry, we're making an update here, we're going to fix this, and people will complain about it. But as soon as they add those updates and it's fixed, people generally are getting over it, and it's not affecting or hurting them, it seems like, or at least their bottom line, that much, unless it's a very, very bad game. I mean, you just literally have to think about the Cyberpunk debacle, the launch with that. I've seen, again, over on social media, the last couple of days or so after they released Phantom Liberty, kind of a revisionist history on Cyberpunk. People saying it was always good. And I'm like, sure, maybe it was always good in terms of the content they had in there, the gameplay, and maybe the story and the characters. But the fact of the matter is, the original launch of Cyberpunk 2077 was terrible in multiple ways. It was not a good video game at launch. Some people had good experiences, but overall, because of the deception of the marketing and the deception of how the game was running on the PS4 and the Xbox One, there were multiple examples of the game not running and playing very well, even on the Xbox Series X, the PS5, and on PC. It was a terrible launch that caused a lot of chat in the gaming industry as to where the industry was going and how things like this shouldn't be happening. But people have kind of already forgotten that, because they really brought everything back, released updates, and now the game is in a great state. And now with Phantom Liberty, from what I'm seeing, I haven't played it, a lot of people are loving it. So I think Cyberpunk 2077 at first was an example as to what you shouldn't do. And I think at the end of the day, now developers are looking at Cyberpunk 2077 and looking at it more along the lines as, how do you recover when you've had such a debacle of a launch? And I think if you're Xbox and you're looking at Redfall, they got to try to recover Redfall. Cyberpunk 2077 would be a very good use case for that. But again, Cyberpunk was not a good launch, and it was not a good game at launch, even if people are liking it now. And I think that has a lot to do here when they look at the live service style of things with releases. And on the other side of things, games are just much bigger. Developers are creating games to keep people engaged in them as long as possible. I know I went on a little rant there about Cyberpunk, but that's what Todd Howard had to say here. They've made this game, and it's obvious with the amount of planets and the amount of exploration available. This is a game, generational. You're going to be playing it for this entire generation, and it's going to be a beloved RPG just like Skyrim. Now let's talk about xDefiant, because I'm pretty excited for the release of this game. I'm excited because I really want to see how it's going to do, especially as it stacks up against Call of Duty. I think this potentially could be a Call of Duty competitor. I don't think it'll be on the level of it in terms of sales and gameplay numbers, in terms of people playing it. But I think in terms of the way it plays and the style of first person shooter it is similar, and a lot of people are really, really enjoying it. And now we have some information here from a recent claim on Twitter by user El Baberto. So again, take this with a grain of salt. This is not official, but the release date for this will be October 17th officially. If Ubisoft comes out and announces officially, but I mean the full release date where everybody's going to be able to play it. And why this is interesting is because this will coincide with the beginning of Call of Duty's The Haunting event, and come just one day after the closure of the Modern Warfare 3 beta stages. Now, you're asking me, I think Ubisoft and xDefiant, they are trying to set themselves up as that alternative more so than anything, than a direct competitor, but an alternative for people who are kind of bored of Call of Duty, want to try something new, to go and try out xDefiant, and releasing it at the same time as a new Call of Duty event is going to be happening, will put it right in the limelight, and people may take their attention away from the Haunting event from Call of Duty and try to go check out what xDefiant is. I'm excited to see how this thing stacks up. I think it is good for the competition of first-person shooters, and Call of Duty being a first-person shooter that is a first-party Xbox game, they are going to have to continue to make the Call of Duty franchise better, especially if xDefiant does take off, which is why I am definitely rooting for it. I will be checking this game out when it does release. I've played the betas. I enjoyed it. I think obviously they have to improve on things, but I think there is a lot there that can make this one of those games that is good for streaming, and just one of those games that people may look at instead of playing Call of Duty. Now, let's take a look here at October, because October is absolutely insane when it comes to game releases. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's coming out in October, I just want to do this quick rundown because there's literally something for everybody. Some of my most anticipated games of this year are coming out in October. First of all, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I can't wait to play that one. Be jumping into that one right away. Big fan of the Assassin's Creed series, and they're going back to the old style, and for the first time in 3 years or so. So excited to see how they go back and how people like that compared to the open world RPGs. Forza Motorsport coming out on October 10th. Huge game from Xbox first party, their last big major release this year. Excited to see how that game ends up being, and I'm definitely going to be checking that. You got Lords of the Fallen on October 13th. Sonic Superstars on October 17th. I always like my Sonic games, so I'll be checking that out. Hellboy, Web of Word. Marvel Spider-Man 2 coming out on October 20th. And I think it will be a great game. I loved the first one. My favorite studio at PlayStation is Insomniac. But I wonder what the review scores are going to be. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next topic. Super Mario Bros. Wonder on October 20th as well. So competing head to head. If you remember what happened last time when God of War came out and Pokemon came out, God of War was really happy about their sales, and Pokemon completely destroyed the God of War sales. I feel like this may be something that's similar. Spider-Man 2 is going to sell great, but Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I feel like is going to be selling more than Spider-Man 2. On October 24th, you have that joke of a collection from Konami where it's 30 FPS for the first game, 1080p, nothing's in 4K. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. You have Lord of the Rings Return of Moria on October 24th as well. Ghost Runner 2 on October 26th. Alan Wake 2, which I'm very excited for, on October 27th. EA Sports UFC 5 on the 27th. And Jusant on October 31st, which is a Game Pass game that looks pretty cool. They did show it off at the Xbox Showcase. So just an absolutely packed month no idea how I'm going to play everything, especially still playing Starfield, still playing Mortal Kombat, amongst various other things, still playing the Crew Motorfest. Like there's so many games I'm still playing right now. I have no idea how I'm going to get to all this stuff, but October is an insane month, probably one of the best months we've ever seen in gaming history based off of all of these huge titles that are coming up. Now, I would say one of the biggest ones easily is Spider-Man 2. I am excited for it. I am going to play it. Maybe not day one, but I will be at some point jumping in and playing it. The question is, what are the review scores going to be? I'm thinking it's probably going to get around an 8 or a 9. And we saw this here. Now, it really it depends on how you interpret it, but this is more IGN stuff. And I can understand why people look at this and think that there is an inherent bias just because of some of the stuff that we have seen coming out from media, from the IGN review for Starfield. A lot of people looked at that and thought that it was just somebody who had a vendetta against the ABK deal based off of their previous tweets and the receipts for those tweets showing that they were against it, using that as anger and giving Starfield a 7 out of 10. And now we have this here during IGN's Beyond podcast, and I'll just let you listen. But basically, they're saying that IGN must give it a 9, but you can also look at it in a way where the guy is kind of joking and being sarcastic. But let's listen to exactly what he says, and then I'll give you my take on it.
I'm in love with this, and I'm going to predict it right now. We here at IGN, I say we, but it's going to be one person that's reviewing this game. I say we here, we're going to give this an IGN 9. And if we don't give it a 9 or higher, then I have an open invitation for the person that is reviewing this game to come on Beyond and let us share words with one another and talk about whatever you're going to get.
Akeem, they're going to do that no matter what, Akeem. That's regardless of the score they give it, they're going to come on the show and talk about this. It's the biggest PlayStation game of the year.
They're welcome to come talk about that, but also
it's a weird bet.
I'm giving them an open invitation. I can't. Can I give them that? I'm just letting.
No, but it's like you're betting that the sun's going to come out tomorrow morning.
So there you have it. I mean, you can probably interpret this in multiple ways. I mean, I don't know this guy or his history in terms of his review scores, if he does reviews, or just his overall thoughts on PlayStation and the other parts of the gaming industry. But if you listen to that, it really does sound bad. It does sound like he is saying it gets a 9 or else. And if it doesn't get a 9, there's going to be issues at IGN. You can also look at it in the same way that he thinks it's a 9, because I know review codes are out there already. So maybe he's been playing through it. I'm sure at IGN, even if you're not reviewing the game, you get to check out and play these games early. Maybe he's playing it and he thinks it's a 9. So he would love to have a debate based on whoever is reviewing this game if they don't give it a 9. Maybe it is just that could be that innocent. The issue here is it's IGN and a lot of people do not trust them with previous events. And this is overall a bad look. And now when the review score does come out, if it gets a 9, most people are going to think that it was paid off. It was a prepaid review from IGN, and he was kind of just revealing their cards accidentally before the review does come out. Now, what I like about Spider-Man is that it was a great game, was a fun game, open world, great combat, lots of exploration. The story was okay overall, in my opinion, but I think it potentially has the chance at getting a 9. I wouldn't be surprised if the second one here, with improvements, with a larger city, with the addition of Venom and more different combat scenarios and different open world scenarios and side missions and stuff, if they improve on the formula slightly, if it does get a 9, that isn't going to surprise me in the slightest. But now IGN has set themselves up for just major failure and backlash and pushback when they do put out their review score, if it is a 9 or higher. If it comes in at like a 7 or 8, it will be interesting to see the overall narrative on what people say about that, especially with this clip here going around. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.